you may just call the meeting to order then?
Yeah,
Okay, oh, you're setting up here.
yes.
Absolutely, let's do that.
There she is.
Okay, so we are recording and now streaming to YouTube. And we can begin when you're ready.
Okay, let us call the meeting to order. The first order of business is to announce the next meeting, which will be,
Go down.
can you scroll it a little bit for me?
Oh,
About this. There we go, September 26th in this room at 8:30. With that, could we swear on the staff and everybody who is from the city of Columbus, please raise your right hand. You swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, but the truth.
yes.
So say I do.
Focus Sean Hall's principal plan.
Thank you.
Yes, I did. Adam Burns, because Adam Burns, assistant planner.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, would you please call the roll for us then, Bones?
Yes, Mr. Whitman,
Here.
Mr. Loversige,
Here.
Ms. Maniachi here, Mr. Slanet,
Here.
Ms. Bartley here, Mr. Beatty,
Here.
third. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. Quorum is declared. Would you please just read the procedure for us then?
Yes. Sorry. We have to turn it on. So. Just sliding. Yes. So, so the order of operations will be that the chair will call each case. When the case is called, the applicants will approach the presentation table and be sworn in. And then I, as staff, will read the staff report and orient everyone to the presentation. And then the applicant will give their presentation and the commission can answer any questions and give feedback.
Okay, and we will make time available for anyone from the audience to speak. And if you would, please, when that occurs, come up to the podium so that we can hear you. Very good. With that, let's go ahead. Are we ready for application? Oh, the minutes. Let us approve the minutes. Would someone move to approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, the minutes are on the table. Any questions, comments, additions, deletions?
Move the minutes.
I did.
And a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Minutes are approved. Very good. I think we can go ahead now to the first application, please.
Yes. All right, so 266 East Main Street is the location of the J.C. Arms Apartments built in 1972 on a northern parcel with two large serving parking lots on a southern parcel and a third parcels to the west, which is targeted for phase 2 development. The applicant is seeking commission approval for a 5-story, 60-foot mixed-use building on the 1.acre southern parcel, which was conceptually reviewed by the commission at the February 2023 meeting. The proposed building includes 120 workforce housing units and 8,500 square feet of commercial first floor space. Mature trees will be removed to accommodate the development. At the February meeting, the commission recommended bringing up the masonry material on the south facade and creating a greater sense of connectivity with pavers or pedestrian access. In response to commission feedback, the masonry material was raised up on the south and north elevations. The updated building proposal reduces the size of the second floor podium and surface level parking enclosure, as well as some revisions to the unit mix in the rear of the building. Siding materials on the northern elevation have been revised from cementitious panel to cementitious lap siding, maintaining the same colors as the other elevations of the building. And submitted materials include context photos, site plan, demo plans, renderings, elevations, landscape plans, sections, material details, and electrical plan. And then to quickly look, this is the main scheme here, but it's largely the same as what was seen before. This is the site plan, again, largely the same. And then we see here that the brick material was raised up to a few more of these floors. And that's the main change that you'll see here. This parking podium is a little bit smaller than before, but those are the main changes. And so after review, the downtown design guidelines state that the downtown's built environment continue to be enhanced and energized with new buildings and improvements to the public realm. The guidelines recommend that facades facing the public realm have a high level of design, that first floors have a high degree of transparency, parking be located in the rear, building materials be of high quality and durability, including traditional masonry. Incorporating art and landscaping, including the preservation of mature trees, is encouraged. The proposal is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines regarding building design, ground floor uses, parking, and landscaping. Staff encourages the applicant to provide landscaping planters or art murals on the interior concrete walls of the amenity deck and play area to further enliven the space. Staff notes that although some mature trees will be removed, at least 22 new trees and other landscaping is provided. Staff also notes the high amount of fiber cement panels on the structure instead of traditional masonry materials as recommended by the guidelines. Thank you.
Okay, who is here for the applicant, please? Would you come up? Morning. Would you identify yourselves, please, and raise your right hands?
I'm George Berardi.
Melissa Spires.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Why don't you, we've had an introduction, why don't you take it from here, please? And we have seen it, so.
Yeah, is this on or am I loud enough?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, there aren't very many comments really. There was just one item that was not included in those images, which was Jana mentioned the connectivity between the proposed building and the existing tower. And we will be, if you leave it on that image, we will be adding some pavers along the circle to connect back to the other building. I can point, if you want me to come up there, I can point to it, but I think it's pretty clear. Right now, the exits from the building are at the east corner and the west corner. So traffic would normally either go north from the east corner or north on over to South Fifth and then go into the existing buildings.
When you talk about entrances, you're talking about for vehicle entrances.
Well, I think the general was suggesting the possibility of some pedestrian connectivity. I can point to it if you wish.
Up there.
Why, yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. My apology, it wasn't added on here, but what we're suggesting is that we're adding a pavered area that connects right around this circle.
A pavered
That
sidewalk.
takes pavered that connects back into the existing building. Right now, the exits for the building are here. We connect over to South Fifth, walk and come that way. Similarly, we cross traffic this way and come back this way. But I think what Jen was suggesting, the possibility of having some connection here.
And then would you walk, if you come south from the existing building and you're on the paved sidewalk, do you go through the parking lot then?
Well, that's the only choice that we have.
Well, but I mean, you don't have a sidewalk or a walkway through there?
That's what he's saying.
There will
Yeah.
be, there will be a
Well,
walk.
but then you get down to the south of the circle and then you walk, you have to walk across, wanted to get in the building. Maybe there's no reason to go into the building below.
There isn't, it's a parking garage. The entrances to the building are really here and here.
Okay. So, okay.
There was one other comment with regard to signage. That will be addressed with respect to whether it's a monument sign or a building mounted sign, and those details are yet to be determined.
You can come back on that. That's
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk for just a second then on the thoughts here involving the materials on the exterior. The cementous,
Yeah, it's a product that's common.
so how about brick? Where do we have brick?
You have brick at the lower tan portions of the
Two,
building,
right
right
there.
through there.
Yeah.
And those areas were raised from the original design. Actually, some of those were only, brick only extended to the first story. And at the suggestion of the commissioners, we added a second story. And at the middle of the building, it was brought up more up to through the fourth story.
What are the dark sections in there? Or they seem to be recessed then?
Yeah, they also had brick on the first two floors with it, which is a black brick.
This one right
Those
here.
are still masonry on the first two floors. And then the panel above.
So where's the left side?
It is on the back of the building. So if you go to the rendering that shows the rear elevation, it starts at if you can see the black section on the left-hand side, that is panel, and then from there over is where the lap siding starts, and then it wraps around the inside of the U shape.
I had a question about that. I guess that would be the northeast corner that where you were just pointing.
Mhm.
And is that, I thought on the floor plan, unless I read it wrong, there are windows there on that facade, but here it just looks like it's panel. And I'm wondering if maybe that's just like something in the rendering that wasn't misinterpreted or not finished.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look again. I know there's a unit there and we were,
The
struggling with
opposite
trying
side
to
seems
get,
to have windows.
Right.
It should almost be the same as the other end.
yeah.
And I think from the floor plan, it did look like there were windows there.
Yeah, I think if you go back to the rendering again, it should be the same end as the other end,
As the other.
at the west end.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we can definitely get a few windows
That
in
should
there.
be there.
Any questions or comments? Any other ones?
I have a comment.
Please.
I really appreciate everything you've done with the building to enhance it and enliven it and make it interesting and aesthetic. But I'm a little concerned, this north facade is very important facade for the people in the J.C. Arms. They're looking at it, and when they're, in the parking lot, they will see it as well. And I'm wondering that entry into the parking garage, that central structure.
Yeah,
If there's a way that you can, I don't know, maybe with some interesting material or texture or pattern, that's not really over the top, but maybe it's monolithic or it's monochromatic, but something where there's some visual interest and it becomes a design element of some sort, or maybe even something where there's public art on there. I think there's an opportunity to do something that's creative and enlivens that area and makes it more attractive. And I think also any way that you can, it looks like you have some landscaping there on the edge
Yes.
of the fencing. But I think anything you can do to create an interesting buffer
Mhm.
and soften it and enliven it and make it more of a positive experience for the people that are looking at that, that would say they have their apartments looking at that, or they're using that area. I think would be really helpful.
I mean, I did want to point out that wall is brick. It's not concrete or block. It is the same brick that's on the front. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying.
Are there is there screening or window treatment over the, it looks like 3 windows, 2 on one side of the entry door and 1 on the other. Is there?
Yeah, those will have like grills in
A
them for
grill.
security. Yeah.
could there be some trees in that landscaping buffer? It's pretty narrow. Right?
I think it could be, yeah, thanks, Bob, that could be done easily.
I think that would help.
It would kind of screen it too.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a negative.
Yeah,
I mean, even if they're just, 10,
Some
15
columnar-
foot columnar things.
yeah, yeah. That's easy to do. So how do you want to address what you mentioned, Janet, where, maybe public art, you mentioned, we're doing that on a number of other buildings, but, do we do something with the brick? Do we change the brick then? I hate to paint brick, but,
Well, I think whatever you think.
yeah.
Well, do you think it's a good idea to do something with that facade? Or do you feel it's not necessary because you already have the brick there?
I think one of the thoughts would be, maybe instead of being monolithic in a sense of, one color brick, maybe we could vary the brick a little bit to create a little interest so that, for example, where the graded areas are, where the fencing is, to separate, the garage, maybe those can take a slightly different look.
I think that's a good idea. You can use
Yeah.
the brick. It would probably be the same cost and just create an
Maybe
interesting
it-
pattern
Yeah.
with maybe, just it can be just tones of the same
Do you mind
color
if I
palette.
point to something else here? Can I point to something?
Oh, yes.
It may be the possibility of housing. you know, along your lines. Maybe this becomes a different color brick and so is that. So that creates more of a point of destination, more identified, right in the middle.
If we go down this road, how do we look at whatever you're coming back with that?
I think we trust them to do it.
Right.
Can we do it administratively or?
Business staff, so that could just be a condition of
Yeah.
approval.
Yeah,
That the applicant provides the brick on the rear facade with a mixed pattern to enliven, you know, something of that sort. And then if you strongly want to see trees in that buffer,
Yeah,
you could add a condition to have trees or to have them explore additional landscapes in that buffer. And then I can review and approve that when they come with their 100% construction drawings.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
And what's the treatment on the sidewalks around the south and the side then? Are there planter areas in there? Do you have any?
On the streets.
Trees? Yeah.
Yeah, we have street trees.
Can you show us that?
Mhm.
is it the city streetscape?
Yeah,
design?
Yeah.
Public street, I would both.
Oh,
yeah, there's the planting beds on the south side and then tree grates on. Fifth.
now does that mean the sidewalk will be redone and the
Yes.
curbs and?
right.
Yeah.
It's a city standard.
What is the sidewalk material? And is that the concrete?
Yeah. And we did meet with the, for the city's forester department, to look at the existing trees. And they did determine that with the amount of construction we're doing, that the existing trees would not survive. So that's why we ended up taking them out. And replacing.
Probably long-term, you're better off
Yeah.
in that direction.
Yeah.
Long-term meaning within about the next 3 years or so.
Yeah, they weren't very well tended to begin with. These are all.
Well, yes, I get you. Okay, are there other, yes, Otto.
Is there any, common usage between residents of the old building and this particular new building? Or is it almost seen as something totally new and separate, a different product audience or anything like that?
That's a great question. I think the intent is to
And the
have.
buffer is,
I think that even though we have buffers, I think the idea is to have common activities in both directions. In fact, at some point, some other building will probably be constructed, as we had pointed out in the early analysis of the site, for other functions as well. So I think the idea, I think that Jana mentioned was campus. I think that the thought is to really try to create more of a campus to where there are common activities.
So if I'm coming from the GC building and I want to go to the amenity deck, how do I get there?
You have to go inside the building. That's the only way. I mean, we have to maintain the building as a separate building, a separate entity, legal entity from the other building anyway, but it's going to be a management challenge in terms of how they move people from JC into the new.
So you either have to go into the parking garage and into the entrance that way or around to the front of the building.
So I go through the roundabout area,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the sidewalk, I go under the
Yeah,
Right,
vehicle
yeah,
access area.
right.
yeah. And there's an
Under the deck.
entrance that goes into the main lobby.
Is it the same ownership entity then for both buildings? Will it?
Well, they're different ownerships, yeah. It will be different.
So it's effectively two.
The sponsor is effectively the same sponsor.
I
but
see.
The legal entity is a different.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the commission? I'm going to ask for something from the audience. Anything? Is it, okay, go ahead.
It has to do with the Main Street, and it's just a suggestion, the entry of the building. To me, it looks a little small in relationship to the whole expanse of the building. And it's interesting, on the interior, it looks like you have an opportunity for like a double level, because it seems like there's a corridor and then there's an overlook down. So I was thinking, anyway, when you work on that entry, anything you can do to maybe make it a little bit more pronounced, and I don't know, maybe it's just bringing the canopy
Yeah.
completely across,
Raising it.
raising it a little bit.
Raising it is the trick.
Yeah,
Raising it will do it. I mean, you can almost raise that entire canopy section to the bottom of the windows on the
Right.
second floor.
right.
And it would
give
be
more of a
more,
focal
yeah.
point and a presence.
And then are we seeing lighting? Have we seen lighting? I mean, that, at least in the evenings, that can be
No.
something that is accentuated.
What we should do is we should send lighting renderings as part of the package that we'll review.
Have we seen those, the lighting?
No.
Should you, okay, you're asking for approval today? Is that
Yes.
Correct? Okay, then can you get back to us with signage and with lighting as well, please?
Yes.
Yep.
And is there anything else that anybody else wants to see then? Are there any questions from the audience, please? Any comments? I got a letter. Did anybody see the letter other than?
Yes.
About trees.
About your trees, yes. And that person is not here to take office, Tyson, or at least we don't know.
That was just a
Okay.
quick-
Everybody had a chance to see the comments, okay, from the neighbor.
I
Yes.
guess I would like to
Trudy?
see where they're talking about, because it's one thing to read a letter, it's another thing to have a visual as far as what they're talking about. It's not necessarily gonna change my opinion, but I would like to see
I think there's an aerial existing.
of existing.
Have you seen the letter that was sent to the commission from the neighbor? Oh, okay.
The letter was forwarded to you both the
Oh.
same day that I sent it to the
I
commission.
must have missed it, sorry. Yeah, there are existing photos in there of the site.
So it was a comment about losing the trees, mature trees, and there was, did they count the number of them? I read
That's 40.
40 trees.
A lot of trees on that site.
There are a lot of trees.
You know, my concern is just the heat element that goes, the canopy that goes away and the heat element that happens, particularly with what we're experiencing now in Columbus. So that was my only concern after reading the letter. But understanding that there will be 22
Mhm.
trees
You
that
just asked for some.
we
Yeah.
can add for more, so I'm fine.
I don't know, I don't even know what to say. You can see all those trees. The ones along the street there, would be the ones that the forester apparently is
Yeah.
suggesting go away to be replaced by new ones, and then the ones up toward the building become part of their, end up being part of the parking lot.
Mhm.
How about the ones like, let's just say, east of the building, north of the building along? What is that Ridge Street going to the north?
Yeah, we're not touching anything beyond that parking lot that we're putting in, so everything up there remains.
Okay,
Are they mainly concerned about the trees that are in the center of the parking?
well, in the building area, all of.
Yeah, that's all in the building
Yeah.
footprint.
I don't,
So we're adding the street trees for the forester, but we'll add more in the back as we indicated. So it's not a one-to-one replacement necessarily, but
Right.
at least we'll make an effort.
can you go back to the site plan? Oh, right there. Now, along the south side of the building to the north, is there an opportunity to see the green space there, north of the parking lot? To the,
I think there are.
they're right along there. Is there a chance to add some trees in there? Again, it's,
Yeah, again, that's the JC property.
But that's
We have to
the
get
JC
them to pay for it.
Well, there are trees.
And we're not showing, I guess, all the existing trees there, I don't think. So
No,
we'd have
yeah.
to study what's existing and
If you
what.
go back, and you go back to the aerial, I mean, the aerial probably shows the existing aerial. Probably shows.
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody heard the comment.
Yeah, there isn't very much there, in other words, right now.
Yeah,
Against the building.
In that circular drive, that circular piece,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it looks like you have trees there, and are those meant to be shrubs or pretty large trees, or trees that have some height to
I don't know
them?
what the landscape.
is that circle that we see right here that's existing, does that stay? Is that?
It's staying as much as we can. We have to tweak the grading around it a little bit, so we're hoping to keep the middle part of it intact and just regrade around it. But it.
Yeah, it's
That's the one, that's the one around which
Yeah.
you are going to put the
Right.
paver side of it.
So,
Okay, what's the pleasure of the group? Any other questions or comments, anything from the audience?
This is staff. I just want to note that with the lighting, I can't issue a certificate of approval for a building that doesn't have lighting on it. So you'll have to come back with the lighting before I could issue an approval for this project.
Okay, now,
If they're ready.
we've
for
had them
construction.
come back on lighting on buildings,
Lots of time.
100 times.
Okay, that's typical from how I've operated. but
Okay, so let's figure out.
I
how
just
we can-
wouldn't mind a full construction.
Yeah,
project,
no, and
then
let's-
you don't
let's
have
figure-
lighting coming on your
Well, let's
building.
figure out how we can work around this, because I think, I don't know what you're talking about with lighting, but
Really,
um, if there's kind of perfunctory requirements for lighting, maybe you do what she needs to have done so that you can get this certificate. But what we're talking about is, I don't know, more, correct me if I'm saying something that somebody doesn't agree with, or I'm saying it incorrectly, almost more decorative lighting. That's what we're really
That's all
interested
we're
in.
gonna have.
Yeah,
Okay,
which
it's
may kind of supplement what
That's
Yeah.
fine. then.
Elkis is
That's
talking
fine.
about.
That's what the
If that
rendering
makes-
show some decorative lighting on the, some
Bingo.
lights, yeah.
Bingo.
Gotcha.
So, but if she needs, lighting on the front door for emergency fire services. you
No,
guys-
those are already
Those
in
are-
place.
those are already-
All that's already there. And we're talking about the decorative lighting, the uplighting.
Okay,
We're fine.
good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Give
okay.
him a job.
What's the pleasure? No, I appreciate it, and we like to know everything here, so.
Well, I
Okay, one more question. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to, we were in the middle of that, about the circle and the trees, so are those meant to be taller trees in the circle?
Inside the circle, I would say smaller because there's a flagpole and stuff in there, so it's a little bit of a shorter.
Yeah, I don't,
That's not part of your project, is it here?
No,
no.
Yeah,
Okay, so, and those trees that are a little, what is that?
around the outside of the circle, those are like,
Ornamental,
Parking lot
those will be
trees.
ornamental
Right.
trees.
yes.
Those are yours, and
Yeah,
those are
it
going
won't
to
be
be
a
ornamental.
50-foot oak.
well, their trees are the ones that are along the north side of their project here.
Right.
Well, they're making some changes to that circle too, just to
Right,
make it all.
so I think those
fit.
things that are just, what is that, south of it, are theirs as well, right?
Yes.
We'll have to organize, once we add that sidewalk around the circle, we'll have to organize where the ornamental trees will be located, but they'll still be in the green areas.
Well, for everybody's sake, for the north property, the south property, to the extent that the whole sort of center space could be enhanced. That's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Jana, anything? Anybody?
I need to say it, yeah.
Anybody else? What's the pleasure of the group, please?
I did have one.
Okay.
In your parking, in the parking lot, are you, now that is reconfigured by you, this? the
Yeah.
parking lot, okay. Are you just making it in terms of space? So in other words, the distance between the car, the aisleway between the cars? Or do you have any room there, or is it just making it in terms of the required space?
It's
For the-
just the required space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that, where you have the two cars abutting, you might be able to create a small aisle and add some trees as well. And
Yeah.
really make that and really, get that, to have more cover and canopy.
Right.
But I don't know how much room you have, but I think if there's a way to do that, it might really enhance
Well,
the
I
project.
have a thought. We'll work with, with the owner of JC, because we may be able to take a few parking spaces out, if you will, and make them planting islands.
That would be.
So if you go, for example, a third of the way in either direction, we could take the car out and make it a planting island, so it breaks it up.
That is.
Or at the end of the parking strip there or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
A lot of times, buildings like that do not have an intensive parking
Yeah,
situation.
we do not, that's correct.
Okay. Okay,
Move to approve
there is a motion to approve.
with the caveats of adding trees on the south side of the proposed parking lot or the north side of the proposed building to reestablish the canopy that's being lost by the removal of large trees on the existing property, to look at the opportunity to demonstrate the existing condition of the tree canopy on the north side around JC to reflect what's actually there, and then to potentially add in new trees to, again, reestablish the urban canopy. To,
The brick.
The brick. Yep, I'm just trying to remember them all, so. The brick, at the, amenity deck, to look at some patterns or some changes there to enhance the view from the JC Arms building. And to look at the front
Right.
entry and enhance that, picking it up and making it wider to to better enhance the
Raising
front
that.
entry, more proportionate to the building.
Okay, and how do we get these? Okay, so that's the motion. What do we do? Does this go to
Is that
staff
for
then?
staff?
Everybody?
Or for commission?
I think it'd be staff.
Okay, can I have a second for this,
Second.
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Okay, so we're talking about staff review on that. If you would, when you come back with this lighting and signage, I think it'd be nice if you could bring it back and show us some of the stuff. That'd be great. We're gonna, you can get it approved, but still, if you would bring it back so we can look at it, that'd be good. Okay, any other questions, comments? Anybody, anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be in touch with her.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Next. Application.
All right, so our next application is for 332 East State Street, which is located at the northeast corner of South Grant Avenue and East State Street, which contains an existing surface parking lot and alleyways. The applicant is seeking commission approval to vacate the alleyways and remove the parking lot for the construction of a 5-story, 520 space parking garage on the western portion of the site and a 2-story, 40,000 square foot medical office building on the eastern portion, fronting Grant and State. Materials include brick veneer and metal screening for the parking garage and brick veneer and window wall glazing systems for the office building. The streetscape includes 2 benches, a sheltered bike rack, and 7 trees. All graphics are representatives and are not part of the proposal. The applicant last came before the commission for this portion of the development in May for a conceptual review. The commission recommended that the medical office be more engaging, but stated that the master plan is a good investment overall. Submitted materials include existing context images, demo plans, site plans, landscaping plan, elevation sections, renderings, and material details. And to quickly see, this is the facade fronting Grant, which is the medical office building. This is turning the corner, so now we're on State. So you see the glazing for the medical office building, kind of this plaza-like area at the corner. The entrance for this building is going to be closer to the entrance of the parking garage, which you see moving further down. And then the parking garage itself does offer some screening materials here. And then this is the front, so facing the hospital. After review, the downtown district code permits parking structures and medical office uses. The downtown design guidelines recommend that buildings on a corner lot be designed to address both streets, establishing a strong presence at the intersection, that high-quality materials be used, first floor transparency, and that facades facing public streets use a higher level of design. Further, the guidelines state that parking structures not disrupt the scale, massing, and rhythm of the streetscape and minimize the visual impact by being visually integrated with adjacent contributing buildings using a high level of architectural detail. Lastly, the guidelines recommend landscaping that complements the overall development and the inclusion of art to enliven blank building walls on street elevations. The proposal is generally consistent with the downtown guidelines regarding use, design, awnings, and materials. Staff asked the applicant about the ability to include street trees along Grant, and the applicant noted that given the location of overhead utility lines that are not anticipated to be buried, the inclusion of street trees is not practical. Staff also asked about the potential to locate the office building entrance at the corner, and the applicant noted the desire to locate the entrance adjacent to the parking garage for ease of patient access. For further consistency with setback, landscaping, and parking structure guidelines, staff recommends that the applicant provide street trees or awning cover along the Grant Street frontage for pedestrian shade, move the main entrance to the corner of Grant and State for a stronger intersection presence, line the parking garage on State with access only from Oak, or design the parking garage with a one-way garage entrance on State and a one-way exit onto Oak, and enliven the parking garage facades on State and Oak, which are the north and south elevations, through the use of increased screening details and/or art murals. Thank you.
Okay, is someone here from the applicant?
Is this a conceptual review?
This is for a vote.
I'm sorry. Was it approved?
This is a request for action, so for a vote.
Morning. Morning. Would you please identify yourselves for the record?
Doug Scholl.
Amy Nagy.
And you're both with?
I'm with Ohio Health. Amy's with EMHT.
Okay. Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. Why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so we've been a few times and reviewed the project with you guys over the last few months already. This is the final action so that we can move through the permit process on the garage and the MOB project, which are enabling projects for the Grant Tower project. We've been through Land Review Commission, alleys vacated, EMH&T has been working with the utility companies, and we're pretty close to ready to start relocating utilities on the site so that we can get the project moving, so that we can get to the tower project, which provides a new ED and critical care beds for the community.
Okay.
I guess any questions?
Go ahead. Does anybody here have a question? Do you have a site plan too, that just so we can kind of walk through the thing here? I think, Douglas, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so facing the library is the two-story that's on the corner of Grant and State. The plaza area kind of addresses the need to be addressing the library and the corner intersection, allowing our entrance to be connected with the parking garage. So patients can go directly from the parking garage into the office space without going out into the weather. The building on the,
But it's just while we're talking about parking and going directly into the office building. Obviously, with 520 spaces, you're not using that garage simply for
Correct.
this office building.
correct, it's also for other grant parking needs, because as part of the larger project, the blue garage on the corner of Town and Sixth, I believe it is, will be removed. So
Which will be removed
Town and Sixth,
to the west of this then, right?
yeah,
To the southwest.
southwest.
So
And-
blocks, kind of a block south and a block west.
So that whole section
Where
that's
the
in there,
P-
it's whatever it is.
Where it says blue garage parking.
So how do you have access then from the parking garage into other sections of the hospital?
No, the parking garage, so again, at the blue garage, currently those who park there, whether it's visitors or physicians, have to cross the street, cross Sixth
Okay.
Street to get in.
And how about in the new garage?
It'll be the same. So again, we looked at a number of different ways to connect either with bridges or other things, and it's a cross State Street, which really isn't something that would be looked at favorably, and technically it really doesn't connect very well into the building, knowing that hospitals want to keep first floor connections so the public wayfinding.
Did block crosswalk or?
We're still working with traffic on trying to get that block is pretty short, so it doesn't meet all of the distance requirements for,
People are gonna walk across it if you don't.
yeah.
We have a follow-up meeting. We met with them last week and then have a follow-up meeting that's being scheduled to review with traffic management.
So we would love to have one. If we can't have
I
one,
think it's gonna be, we gotta keep the entrance of,
Yeah.
of the building and the parking garage at the mid block.
Yeah.
And people are going over to the hospital, they're gonna need a safe way to get there.
Mhm.
I agree, I don't think one a bridge there.
no.
Okay. You have a brick sample for us, by the way? I take that as a no.
I don't have
Materials,
There should be a material cut sheet in the packet,
Yeah.
but
we'd like to
I
see
don't know if it's
samples.
physical.
Why don't you review the cut sheet, I guess, then from,
Yeah, the brick sample is, the brick is consistent to other on the campus. It matches the brick on the Surgery Heart Center on the, right across from the blue garage at Grant. So that is a picture of the brick sample on the facade of the
okay,
Surgery Heart.
and the metal frames for windows.
That screening panel on the garage.
Okay.
We see the the Grant Street elevation.
Yeah.
This is a major street in our city. It faces the library. It's adjacent to the hospital. And it seems like a pretty uninspired facade to me.
I agree.
You know, it's interesting. I was looking at the floor plan and it seems that you have an opportunity in some areas. I know some of the rooms in there that are facing Grant are functional. But I mean, functional in terms of, let's say, I think maybe drawing blood or things like that. But there's I think a medium, it's called medium conference room.
That
Then
has
there's
the,
also a training educational room. And I think those are two areas where, like, Bob is saying, you would have the opportunity of maybe opening them up and doing something where the facade is more enlivened, because you have the small windows, and I can understand that in areas that, you know, might be more like an exam room or something where you need the privacy, or it's a very functional space, very utilitarian space. But I think you do have other opportunities, the way the floor plan's designed, that you can do something different.
yeah, I think that comment makes perfect sense. Along the front facade from the left, that's waiting room and public spaces. As you move further to the right, those are patient spaces. And then the meeting room that you're talking about is where the windows become, it does,
So you have glass.
we have addressed windows on that area.
It's the big, what you call big or large conference room, but I think there are two other spaces that are, if we look at the floor plan, so like,
I have to say, I actually like the curved wall on the corner there. I think that's kind of better.
just like I'm saying, like maybe here where it says group conference medium, and then there was so that big a demonstration.
But that's right next to the other section of windows.
No, I think go up more, conference large, that's the one where you have the large expansive windows.
So it's right next to it.
Right, but then there might be an opportunity, if that's something that we're thinking, maybe we don't want so many small windows on that grand facade. Maybe there's an opportunity to do something and have more transparency. But that's, you
Now,
know,
does that work on the second floor then? Because you got two floors, or you could just, I suppose, work on
Yeah.
them.
I don't think we can design it here, but I think we can express what
Yeah,
I think is missing.
yeah, the second floor is much heavier density. There's, as it lines up with the conference space on that floor, we've addressed as open as we thought was practical for the uses of the building.
But that storefront on the right, the covers, couldn't that go all the way up to the top, like, and match what's on the corner?
Sure.
Kind of tie that
Yeah.
around?
Yeah, I think that would be
I
an
think
easy.
that would help some.
Yeah.
This is staff. I'm curious how the commission feels about the parking garage circulation and the curb cut.
that curb cut is on Grant, right? So I,
No,
No, the curb cut's on the state.
sort of state.
Yes.
State. And that's the going in and going out.
Bring in and out.
And that is troubling. Is
That's
there-
approved by traffic management. So Oak Street's only 20 feet curb to curb. So Oak Street is more of an alley width. And so making turning movements in and out of the garage for the patient volume they're looking for. And then from Doug's security standpoint is one of the main reasons of not having your entrance on Oak.
yeah, I mean, it's everything from wayfinding, security. And I mean, Oak it's called the street, but it's really an alley. It's not much more than that.
And that entrance, exit, right?
That is an entrance and exit because Oak Street really doesn't support
I think
patient traffic.
we kind of like parking garages that come off of alleys, but people looking for a hospital
Yeah,
are not going there because they want to.
And they're not,
I've ever been there before, and they need to be able to find where the entrance is, and even when they leave, they need to know where they are.
and that's not, I mean, let's be realistic about it too. State Street, at least in my opinion, I drive over there occasionally. It's not Broad Street, it's not Grand Avenue, it's not heavily traveled. I think this would be a place where you could say, frankly, that would work. And I also think I think you would buy into a mistake if you tried to put it back on Oak Street.
Agree.
I think it's okay. The traffic is okay with it? You met with
Yes.
traffic?
Yep. We met with them really when we first started. We met with them April to start even getting initial.
I think it was parking garage that supports an office building or a residential building, it's one thing. But this is, I've
This
been
is
to visit
500.
hospitals a lot lately, and it's important to
Yeah,
be
and
able
it's gonna be a
to.
lot of,
And this is a big parking garage.
and it's not gonna be, like you said, an office or apartment where it's all repeat use who understand the traffic flows, so they're,
This has a very small associate.
I also am not, we had the comment about the corner entry there, and I think with that glass wrap around there, I think the entry works where you have it. I also think it makes a lot of sense from a use standpoint, as you.
I like the idea of the entry on the corner, but this doesn't seem practical, and this design with the curve and a little bit applies, making a statement at the corner, which I think is good.
Yeah, I do
Great place
too.
for a sculpture, same thing.
And for some landscaping, the way you're showing it, is that what you're actually proposing to do then?
Your entrance on the other side is curves too,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. It's very differently.
Yeah, but it kind of
Yeah.
complements each other.
yeah, the entrance at the surgery heart has a big
Right.
rotunda,
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
How many years before you come back and ask us about putting another floor? on the-
Yeah, I was wondering,
Well-
I'm astounded that you come in and do a two-story building in this.
I would love to say that I wasn't also, but again, I think it's part of how much can be invested in this property at this time. I mean, we're really trying to get the money pushed towards the surgery, critical care pavilion.
Right,
And, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know we have other buildings like the 393 garage and other places that are more likely to be future targets for.
You mean at this location?
At the Grant location, a couple of blocks away, that are more likely to need something before we need to add on here. So, I mean, I think,
I just remember when you put another floor on the other building.
well, we've talked a lot about that because this, as in medical office building, is gonna have equipment on the roof and things like that. That'll make it, once we've designed it, it's really impractical to put a third floor on as much as we'd like. We talked about.
By the way, I think it
different
would
ways to do
actually
that.
look better on that side with 3 stories.
I don't necessarily disagree, but this is where we're at.
Last time, you were here, I asked if the building was going to be engineered that, you know, in the future, you know, way down the line, if you did want to add on to it, you could. And I think you said that it wouldn't be interested them.
No, that's correct. So the garage right now, we're in discussions about whether that can be expanded ever in the future or not, but that's really on this type of site, pretty impractical also.
They're doing what they
It
said
just
they would do.
seems like-
So we're gonna build something on the side.
Yeah, it
You're
only
talking
took
20
25
We're
years.
trying,
That just
doing our
seems like
best.
over time, it just seems like over time, if you can, then that will probably have to be demolished and you'll have to start over. Because I think, but I understand the problem now.
I mean, I think this is a 25 or 30-year building for sure. I think we're more likely to develop
Others-
another site within a couple of blocks of Grant that we own before we would ever add another floor here. So I don't want to speak speculatively, but it just doesn't seem.
Okay, let's, any other questions then about this project from the group?
The parking,
ahead, Jan.
the parking garage, so the State Street, and I understand the importance of having the entry and the exit on State Street. Have you thought of, I know you have the screening, but have you thought of ways to make that more engaging in some way? I don't know, maybe with lighting or maybe with, I don't know, maybe something creative or maybe even something that's public art that's hanging on it or, you know, sometimes you even see like a shallow storefront that you can put displays in. I don't know, I'm just thinking that some way to make that look a little bit less institutional and more engaging and interesting for pedestrians and because of its prominence to the hospital.
Yeah.
Just wondering if-
I think our intention was to keep it as simple as possible, just not to distract from people getting in and out. So
So just that, the screening, you just want to leave it that way?
we prefer that.
Can we see the Grant Avenue elevation again, please? And then also, show us what's on Oak Street too, if you would, Bob. Oh, no, hang on, oh. there.
It's one of the renderings.
Yeah, gosh,
So this is O, you see the, oh gosh. PDF doesn't want to
oh,
work.
that's a,
Well, this is looking down
That's from the,
That state.
from the live, this is what I
Right.
see from the
okay,
library.
so where's Grant Avenue?
And then this is Grant, and then this is turning the corner onto Oak, which is sort of like the back of the development.
Boy, those, I don't know, those narrow windows like that with that, those little, whatever, what, are those brick panels between the windows? Vertically?
It's like 1964.
It does, it really does.
It doesn't look like a new building to me. It looks like a building, I mean, the, what is it? The State Street is wonderful in what you've created. But I think this facade, with the little windows on the ground floor, it looks like something that isn't a new building, because typically the newer buildings we have more transparency on the ground level. And then, of course, there's nothing going on with the streetscape, so it's very cold.
I think you can almost get away with that treatment along the Oak Street side. I get the alley thing. I'm not frankly, concerned about that too much, but boy, that Grand Avenue, I
The
think,
grand,
just think it could be better.
Particularly when you think about what's happening across the street at Library Park.
Mhm.
And then this, it does look very,
It looks like a suburban sixties office.
Yeah.
Frankly. Well, I know, by the way, you do not have to agree with that. I'm not
that's all
happy.
in.
In all fairness.
yeah, and looking at the MOBs that you're doing in the suburbs. And looking at this,
Look at that, it's more shredded all over.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at what you all are doing and what you're creating in the suburbs. With your MOBs and how beautiful they are. And then I'm looking at this. And just seems pretty simple and not interesting at all.
And I think it depends on the, I mean, again, the scale of the project and the location too. This window spacing, these types of windows aren't all that different than you'd see at the Pickerington campus or other campuses. You know, a lot of our campuses, we put a lot of focus on the front side of the front entrance as we have here. Just for that wayfinding. I think the comment about that conference room space and taking that all the way up is appropriate.
Yeah, and by the way, so that's a point well taken, and we like the, what you're calling the front, the only problem is you got two fronts
Your
here.
trucks.
I don't know, it's whatever the group thinks, I wouldn't mind. What's your timing on this? I know you would probably want to get it done and start digging on Tuesday.
Well, we're not digging on Tuesday. We would like to get it done. So again, we're not.
I would like, if, with your, for myself personally, and I'm not going to speak for the group, but I wouldn't mind if you would go back and see if you could tweak that east facade of this thing. And
If we have this staff approval versus a come back. or-
no, I don't think so, Max. It's pretty, this is an important building. It's an important building, it's an important location, and I realize that you've got bigger fish here in this little pond here, but for us, it's important, and I think we need to kind of look at it. And I think, by the way, for what it's worth, I think you're looking at, in my opinion, again, I think with the rest of the stuff, I'm okay with it, including locations of entries and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the functionality.
This right here, that strip from, that brick patch right there, if you guys could work on that one thing, that means you would come back 30 days from now. And
I don't know what the submission date is and what my architects need, but we'll try and come back 30 days.
I tell you what, we will try to work with you on a little wiggle room on the submission date,
Okay.
if you need that, with the permission of Bill.
Yeah, this is staff, that's fine, we can,
Yeah.
so typically returning applicants have until next Friday to submit something. But I could work with you on that date.
Let's just say we would like to work with you on that.
Appreciate
And if you could take that one little strip of this building, would that make everybody in this group feel better?
It would, but we also look at the garage facade, that thing's not great.
Okay,
I think you need to look at all the brick
Yeah,
at one time. And I know you got two architects on this, but they're, I think that you've got a brick building on each side and then a glass piece in between, and somehow if they related to one another, it would be a stronger design for the whole block.
Okay,
I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think that
You find some architects who can translate that into something.
I think it's a hard challenge because, you're working with the restriction of the height there, and it's very understandable, with the restrictions, and then you have the parking garage. But I think it makes it harder because it just makes it harder to work with the masses. But I think you can do it, and I think you have a lot of really great elements on the building, but I think that, like everybody's saying, that needs to be strengthened. And I think the good thing is that functionally on the inside, I was explaining the spaces, I think it's not like you have to worry about how is that going to impact the function, because I do think you have some flexibility if how some of those spaces are working.
Well, again,
from horizontal lines that are created by the parking garage, maybe that could be reflected on this facility. There's some relationship between the two.
well, I think we're also trying to stay away from some of that from the sixties you can see in the background on the other buildings at Grant where it is just all horizontals, which
Yeah.
is
yeah,
very, very sixties office building.
yeah.
Well, this is staff. I'm curious if the commission has any thoughts on pedestrian shade on Grant.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna just ask about that too. Is this fall under the streetscape?
The downtown
Provision?
standards.
It's my understanding that if more than 150 linear feet of frontage is impacted, then it would trigger streetscape standards. But I can't speak to the details of it. I don't know the ins and outs. I can confirm with public service if that's.
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit, and
Okay,
Amy just
great.
prompted me. So again, we had looked at those streetscape standards. Unfortunately, all of the overhead wires that go there, I mean, I don't think we would be against putting the street trees there. We're just worried about the longevity of those street trees with the utilities that run
There's like
through the area.
layers of power and then.
By the way, I have not realized, I again drive over there, probably not infrequently, but I am staggered by all
So
the lines. That's
we
as
second
bad
that.
as any place in downtown Columbus that I can think of.
When I was working on the library project a few years ago, there was talk of the city varying those lines, but I don't, obviously it didn't happen. I don't know what it takes to get it to happen, but.
Lots of
About
money.
10 or 15 years.
It's
Um,
horrible.
So you could
Well-
probably apply the.
So again, we would be happy to apply this landscape standards in the streetscape. We're just worried about the longevity of what happens to those trees 5 years from now when they
Oh,
grow.
those lines look like they're pretty tall.
The private, no, the electric lines on the very top are, the
I
bottom
think-
ones are not.
Again, I think this is an architect's rendering of power lines, not the actuals.
I mean, are you able to do something, get an,
Yeah, I mean, you can get the planners.
We could do, so that was
Turn
what
around
Doug and I talked
that
about.
lower level
We could do
tree.
those without the trees. Yeah,
Okay,
Well,
that
we
would
could-
be,
we could
that
try.
would be a huge positive.
And we
I'm
could-
trying to get it set up so you come in here and you're here for about 10 minutes.
Love that. I think and we can
We
look
all
at,
say
I
fantastic.
don't know what's in the streetscape standard for types of trees, but are there trees that stay
Yeah,
lower to the ground or something?
Yeah,
like
you
that?
make your teeth knows what they're doing. You're good.
yeah.
Yeah, so we can try and find
I
some.
think it's establishing the pattern on the ground plane and open up the planters, get it greened up a little bit and soften it, and then we'll figure out the trees.
We can do that.
Depending on what that height is.
And that'll help the elevations too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah, by the time we bring
Okay.
that.
I hate to do it. Does anybody have another question? Does anybody want to do anything action wise?
This is staff. I just wanted to know that there are dwarf tree opportunities and
Okay.
there are even, opportunities for canopies that are on the building just to provide shade and enliven that.
Okay. I'm sure you folks can come up with something. So I guess where we are is if, with your permission, we'll table this. We'll see if she will work with you on your timing thing on this and we'll look forward to seeing it and
Can I
I
ask-
appreciate it.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely,
That I'm
please.
not sure I want to ask, but knowing that we got handed this email as we walked in with some notes from a neighbor, are there any concerns?
Yes, I'm going to ask, is there someone here from the neighbor? Is there Megan that is here?
Yep.
Okay, and
I just want to make sure to
yeah,
not lose
just
that
one
name.
second, please. And then is there anybody else that has a comment from the commission? Okay. Would you come up, please?
Absolutely.
Would you, thanks so much. Would you identify yourself, please?
Hi, Megan Glosser.
Sorry,
Just
Blosser?
picture, keep this picture up?
Yes, that's a great view of our building. I'm Megan Glosser. I'm here to represent the owner of the historic Knights of Columbus building at 80 South. Yep, that beautiful brick one right there. I'm gonna hold my notes up so I don't forget anything here. So I apologize.
Excuse me, but since you're gonna testify, would you raise your
Yes,
hand?
yes,
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so we just became aware, about 2 weeks ago on August 8th. The property manager was notified that the electronic billboard on the property was gonna be temporarily shut off. Immediately, the owners made efforts to get a hold of the real estate manager at Ohio Health. It's Michael Sandor, and they finally were only able to talk to him last Friday, the 18th. It was yesterday that we finally received or saw the plans that the setback for the parking garage was only 2 feet 7 inches from our property. This created some concerns on our side, or on the owner's side, mainly having to do with the maintenance of the historic facade. On the side where the parking garage would be next to, 2 feet 7 inches is not really enough space to get in there and maintain. There is some terracotta on the property, on the wall there, that is delicate, and we are under obligation from our facade easement to maintain and repair anything that does get damaged. The owner is not certain where the footers for the building sit on the property and wants to make sure that anything that happens on the adjacent property will not impact the structural side of our building, or of the historic property as well. And then also, the owners are currently looking at redeveloping the property into workforce housing using the LIHTC program, which would add some additional windows to that facade there, to allow for units to be over there, which would be significantly impacted by parking garage being 2 feet 7 inches away from it, with lighting and airflow. And I think I hit all the main points on that. So we would like, the owners would like it to be tabled until they can assess what the impact to the historic property would be from the parking garage being only 2 feet 7 inches away.
Okay, well, I don't know if anybody wants to,
Oh,
address this or architects here, but.
Right, yes, exactly. I heard it was
Oh,
tabled, but
Downtown,
concerns on the parking garage, yes.
I don't think you're gonna be able to put windows on that facade anyway, if there's a building.
No, you can't on a, is that on the lot line? Is your building?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on the property line?
Yeah,
I don't think you could put building the lot windows there either, but you can check, you know, if you, I assume you have an architect that works for you.
Mhm.
You can check with them on that.
Yes,
And,
Yep.
you know,
they would just like a chance to assess what the impact to
well, as it turns
the
out,
building would be.
they're
Yes.
gonna be back next month anyway, so.
Yeah. So
That
hopefully,
works
I'll
for
let
you.
them know that hopefully they can have somebody look at it in the next month.
I mean, when we heard the previous presentation, there was one rendering that showed the parking garage somewhat against this building. It does not go up the entire scale
Mhm.
of your building, that's the first thing, but I think what might be a little bit more troubling is that your owners or prospective owners, I can't remember, is the project certainly came for the commission several months ago. And this project has been presented several times to this commission. So I'm a little troubled by this seems a little late. Come lately, this urgency about trying to get more time. I mean, it's turned out that you will have more time, but
They were only made aware of it within the last couple weeks. And it was,
this project's been in the newspapers, it's been in
Right.
media. I mean, as it's been developed as a master plan, we approved it in public,
Mhm.
publicly.
and the group from Boston on this particular project, where, I mean, they made a very outstanding presentation when they came in. It seemed as though they considered all things that were going on or, you know, around this. So my purpose isn't to, to scold anyone or anything like that, but it just seems Johnny come lately to a certain.
Okay, other comments? Um,
Well, I think redevelopment of that building is very important to downtown, and certainly we want to support that if we can. I also think having Grant Hospital continue to invest in their downtown facility is awesome for the city, so you guys have to find a way to get along.
Yeah. Well, because this is, a specialty of yours or a big specialty of yours. I'm wondering typically when you do have an older building like this, and then you would have new structures many times, right, abutting it.
Well, it used to have buildings.
Right. So what happens?
which is
when the-
probably what that terracotta
Yeah.
is, right?
That's not terracotta, that's just.
But whatever it is,
It's
painted,
it's
painted or something.
What happens when you have a situation like this? Is there any concern if something has to be maintained on the side, that you do that from the interior?
Well, the footing shouldn't go past the property.
Look at this building, that was a side, that was supposed to be a side of the building up against it.
Yeah,
Right.
well.
It always was.
Buildings there.
Sure. All the building, virtually all the buildings downtown have blank sides
Yeah.
because either they had a building next to them, or they built literally up against the building next to them. Or they figured that there would be one there in the future.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the concern is that when the site is exposed over time because of elements, whether that it deteriorates, but if it is, let's say, repaired before the construction, and then it is, what am I trying to say, it's protected by the new structure, if that's.
Yeah, the concern is that 2 feet 7 inches, it's enough space for things to happen in there, but it's not enough space to get in and really repair anything that were to happen. It's the same on the parking garage side. If something were to happen on that brick, 2 feet 7 inches is not very much space to get in and repair things.
I wonder why.
Is a
It
concern.
should be right on the property.
Why, it may have something to do with putting a foot or a foundation under it. I don't know.
Not either, but
Uh,
you're right, that's.
So they're not saying, get rid of the garage. It was just the concern with that being so narrow that it's creating a space that's.
Well, I think
Not
you have
enough
access to
maintained.
the applicants, so if your building owners wanted to discuss that, I'm sure they could do that. Any other questions or comments? Anything? Did you have anything else then?
No. that
Okay,
was-
thank you.
that was what
Appreciate
I was here
you.
for. Thank you.
Being here today, sure. And, okay, so we'll see the applicants. Grant, yep, thank you, I appreciate it.
We need a
Okay, thanks so
motion.
much. Let's move on to the next one then, if we can.
Chair, we need a motion and vote to table that.
Okay, we need a motion.
I moved the table.
There's a second motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is
Thank you.
stated. Thank you. Getting in line on that procedure.
Chair, take a quick break.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna keep moving. Okay, next application, please.
Yes, so this is 6 West Gate Street, which is home to the Nichols Building. It's constructed in 2017. The applicant is seeking commission approval to modify the ground floor storefront and add sidewalk dining to accommodate a new restaurant tenant. Entry and storefront materials include Marvin Ultimate Wood windows in all locations, wood paneling, plaster, green tile bordering the plaster, and a menu board with a gooseneck light fixture. The sidewalk dining will be enclosed by partial height wood and iron fencing with retractable awnings under existing wood sign shades. Graphics will be a separate future application. Submitted materials include site photos, site plan, elevations, sections, and material details. And quickly, this is the location as it exists today. And then moving to the elevations, this is what will look like on Gay Street with the new storefront. And then this is on High, so this is without, this is what the wall facade will be. And then this is with the sidewalk dining. And so after review, the downtown design guidelines state that building facades facing public streets have a higher level of design and transparency with high quality durable materials, awnings that are compatible with the building design, and lighting that minimizes light spill. They note that wood is generally not an appropriate finish material, and that patio design and boarded materials be compatible with the primary structure in terms of architectural character, materials, and color. The proposal is generally consistent with the awning design, materials, openings, and outdoor dining recommendations from downtown design guidelines. Although the applicant is proposing wood windows and paneling, staff recognizes this as a high-quality material. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Who's here? Oh, Tom. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Tom Morano with the Edwards Companies.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, give us a quick run through here, please.
Okay, so the
Now,
material,
excuse me, just real quick while we're looking, this is built at 6 West Gay Street, but the mast of the facade chain actually goes along High Street.
yeah,
correct?
correct. This is the northwest corner of
Right,
Gay
right.
High. And
Okay.
yeah, and so the primary entrance would be off of Gay Street because that's sort of the desirable
But
address.
the massive, okay,
Right, correct,
okay.
correct.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, so this is here to get approval for storefront modification and sidewalk dining along High Street side. So the larger project is a new seafood restaurant. This is based on an iconic seafood restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I would describe the kind of feel and the ambiance of this as sophisticated, casual, low country. The interior is a sort of a very muted palette. We're going to do wide plank, reclaimed wood floors, drywall ceilings, plaster walls, and it's lots of stained wood like the original restaurant. And so in order to pull off that feel on the interior, we really felt that we needed to get rid of the large sheets of glass and the aluminum storefront system that kind of wraps this whole project actually. And so we're proposing to remove the aluminum storefront system as it is and replace with Marvin wood windows. Those would be stained inside and out. And it just provides a kind of a richer character, and it brings the kind of the scale of this down to sort of a more human scale on the street side. We intend to keep the existing steel awnings and clad the one at the corner of Gay and High. And the others that run along the length of High Street would remain, and we would do new canvas awnings underneath. The fence design, railing design for the sidewalk dining is all stained wood with some wrought iron with planters built into the fence. And so sort of the sign band above there's a group of clear story windows where that sign band currently is, but the new ceiling inside the space would come in just above the stained wood windows. So that space above is all consumed with mechanicals. And so we're going to do a sign band there that would be a limestone plaster with painted graphics and tile around the border. And I guess that's it. I'll take questions if you have any.
I had a question that on the elevation,
Mhm.
it looks like there are louvers above the canopy.
Yes.
And that's, yeah, like above the striped canopy, but that used to be clear story and that's being changed to louvers?
Yeah. Currently they're glass. So the ceiling inside that space is about 16 and a half feet tall. And the new ceilings inside the restaurant really come in right where that existing metal canopy is. So the clear story lights really are in a space above the new ceiling. And we do need a number of them to bring makeup air into
So
the
those would be
kitchen.
working louvers, literally.
Some of them are working, some are not, but they'll all look exactly
Okay,
the same.
what material is that? Just metal painted?
They'll be, aluminum louvers that'll be powder coated to match the finish of the.
What, is all the wood the same along the streetscape?
It's, so the Marvin windows are Douglas fir.
Okay.
Which is a pretty durable material. So then all of the other wood and paneling around will be Doug fir. We're doing sort of
The paneling along the exterior, there'll be Douglas fir as well, stained.
stained. And then the parts that are painted really dark green would be a cement board, like a boral siding or a hardy, smooth though, not wood grain. And then that little recessed alcove is currently all metal panel. And we are gonna take the metal panels off and do all wood paneling inside of there.
Are the louvers just painted to match the existing wall?
Yes.
So there's, the frame as well is just going to match and just kind of go, kind of reset.
Could we have that elevation again? I think it's too bad that you can't use spandrel glass or something, but you said you're using a lot of it for makeup air. The High Street facade.
On High Street, yes, it's makeup air.
Post, please.
How much of it is the makeup air?
So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it would be better if we have to have louvers there that it would be dark. Because the windows are dark. I mean,
Okay.
the front is white, but the glass are black. And I think the clear stories, nice, and I understand what you're doing, but I think getting them out that way makes it kind of strange.
Well, if we could organize the ones that we need for makeup air, either, at some logical pattern.
Mhm.
And we could leave the remainder as just the storefront windows that are currently there
Yeah.
and just black off.
Yeah.
I could do that. I could arrange it in some pattern that makes
I think
sense.
that might be a good.
I don't know if that'd look better or not, right?
I kind of think it's better to just let them all go away and just be part of the wall.
They're all
Because-
consistent, they're all.
Because when you walk the street, everything happens below those metal canopies. You really don't see them at all. Even those little clerestories, when you're on the street level, you really don't see those.
Well, not walking by the building, but across the street.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, from a distance you see.
Well, can you try it both ways? Like, can
Sure.
you work on it both ways and see what you think is better?
I know I need 2 or 3 of those for makeup air. The rest, I'm fine with doing whatever.
Well, I think they could all be louvers. I just think I don't think they should be white.
Oh, I agree with that too. Yeah, I think if you darken them a little bit, that'd be good.
I would be okay with it.
Because there's a strong line there, and it looks like it's been badly remodeled in this rendering.
Would you pick up on the color of the windows above, or would you do the dark green that's being represented on the corner? So that it kind of carries the whole facade.
I think
What's the lintel kind of thing over the top of those? Is that an existing?
It is, it's a cast stone.
Oh, okay, so that just stays.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just stays.
Well, I don't see it in there, but.
Yeah, it's same colors.
Yeah, I think maybe pulling some of the restaurant all the way across there would be bad.
Okay.
When people.
Is that a kind of Charleston green kind of thing then? I think that
I have
ties
some-
it to the corner.
I didn't submit any interior views, but I have some if you want to see just how.
What restaurant is this a kind of a takeoff on? You know?
I can't say.
Oh, we can't. Oh, okay.
Sorry, they're still negotiating name rights.
I didn't bring the menu?
Okay, now, detail, are you asking for final approval here for this today, or for actual approval?
Yes.
At the pinch points of where the tree walls are versus where the edge of your wood wall is, what's that dimension? Per person of the sidewalk?
We have to maintain a 6-foot clear sidewalk dimension per the SDLA
Yep.
sidewalk dining lease agreement. And so, yeah, even like the fencing has to be a certain height so people can't hide behind it, and a certain amount of transparency is required, so, yeah.
Is the fencing, the wood fence, is that also provided by Marvin Windows or
No.
just matching their, I forgot what you said, it was a
Douglas fir.
Douglas fir?
Yeah, it'll
Sidewalk do we have left?
it'll be site built, 6 feet.
6 feet left?
Yeah. So we have tree planters at our sidewalk that have the granite curb edging. So between the edge of the granite curb and the fence
You
is,
still have 6 feet?
yeah,
So that,
it's a wide sidewalk on High Street.
right, but that little section there for tables is not very wide. Yeah, okay. Okay, comments, questions?
The fence that you're building, that's in the right of way.
Yes.
And it looks permanent, I mean, it looks very permanent. Is that, the city's okay with that? No.
Yeah, that gets approved as long as it can be removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great because making the sidewalks a little narrower increases the kind of the activity on the.
And this is a big, long stretch of building between Gay and
Yes.
Long.
Oh, I
And to
think it's
break
great.
it down into
Yeah.
manageable pieces
Yeah.
feels better.
I think so too.
But
Any
all
other
of it-
questions or comments, Trudy?
All of it is not restaurant because you have a gallery over there too.
Correct. So there's this stretch of gallery, and then we actually have another storefront that's still vacant.
Okay,
And then we have Spec
right,
Restaurant, and then Sarah Gormley Gallery.
right.
Then there's a UPS. And then we have 2 more spaces beyond that are still available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Questions, comments, anybody? Anything from the audience? Any comments? What's the
Go
pleasure,
approve.
board, please? There is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Questions, comments?
We want an invitation to the opening.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks so much.
And I just come back to staff with the relook at the louvers.
Yeah.
That's
Does that work?
fine with me.
And if you would, just send those on. I want to see them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else want to see them?
And I just want to note that wasn't a condition.
It was not, but-
But you're just going off good faith on that. I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
So our
Yes.
last application is at 347 East Gay Street, which includes 2 parcels currently used as a service parking lot at the southwest corner of East Gay Street and Grand Avenue. The site is adjacent to a 6-story parking garage to the west, 7-story Abigail Apartments to the east, and 1 to 2-story commercial buildings to the north and south. The applicant is seeking conceptual feedback from the commission to construct a 7-story, 78-unit affordable housing apartment building. 29 parking spaces with bike parking will be located via an existing curb cut on Grant on the first floor, lined with lobby and amenity spaces on Gay. Streetscape design shows several trees and a landscaped area along the Gay Street frontage. Potential materials include a mix of fiber cement and metal rain screen claddings on the upper floors, and a mix of metal cladding with masonry accents for the first and potentially second floor, with some accent lighting. The applicant did note that the rounded corner may be difficult to realize due to budgetary and square footage constraints. The applicant has approached the adjacent property owner to the west about sharing the private drive and highlighted that as designed, the drive is one way. Submitted materials include a site plan, floor plans, thumbnail designs, elevations, building section, and unit plans. And this is the proposed rendering here. And then you have a site plan. So this is Gay along the longest stretch with some plantings here. You see the parking garage interior, but it's lined. And then this is Grant with that curb cut noted there. And then I'll just move to the thumbnail drawings just so you can quickly see those. These are just a couple different sketches that the applicant made, willing to talk about all of them, but some do note the rounded corner and then others do not. And after review, the downtown design guidelines recommend that buildings located on the corner be designed to address both streets, utilize high quality materials and a higher level design. It's a transparent first floor and landscaping that complements the overall development. The guidelines also state that parking structures have a high level of design to minimize their monotony, integrate other floor ground uses, and that a reduction or elimination of curb cuts is encouraged as sites are redeveloped. Based on the information provided, this project would trigger downtown streetscape standards along the Gay Street frontage. The proposal is largely consistent with the use, building design, height, setback, openings, landscaping, and parking structure recommendations of the downtown design guidelines. Staff recommends that the applicant provide street trees along the Gay Street frontage. Additionally, staff encourages the applicant to continue to engage with the adjacent property owner to the west in order to utilize the private drive for parking garage access and thus remove the curb cut and garage access off of. Thank you.
Okay, who's here for the applicant, please? Could you identify yourselves for the record?
Sure, Jeff Mormon with Finance Fund. Eric Sherrill with Homes Design Company.
Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Eddie, thank you.
Go
ahead.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Appreciate your time this morning. So, Finance Fund, we are a 35-year-old nonprofit. Technically, two 501c3s have done work throughout the state of Ohio and adjacent states. Our headquarters is at 366 East Broad Street, the old Carlisle Patchen Murphy law firm. So we've been before you before. That building is now complete and renovated, and I think we're 98% leased or something like that now. So it is a great project there at the corner of Broad and Grant. As part of the acquisition 4 years ago from Carlisle Patchen Murphy, there was a like their spillover parking lot on the southwest corner of Gay and Grant, and that is what we are now trying to bring back to life or bring to new life. It's kind of in our opinion, it's the entrance to the Discovery District, and having that large service parking lot there is just, it's unnecessary, and we want to do something with it. When we did the Vera on Broad project, we did it as an unsubsidized middle income project. So we're around 75% of the area median income, which is a challenge without subsidy. This project would be a much lower income range. So we'd be averaging at or below 60% of the area median income. And so this will be a tax credit project. We have submitted for all the financing. So we're coming before you today. We don't have any of the financing in place. Currently, we've submitted to the city, the county, and next month to the Ohio Housing Finance Agency as well. But we want to eventually do this project in some ideation of this. So we wanted to bring it before you today, just briefly discuss it. We believe that there is a high demand for affordable housing downtown. We believe the Discovery District is a neighborhood that has seen a lot of investments and significant improvements, and with that have come obviously rising rental rates. So being able to bring more affordable workforce housing to this neighborhood seems important and impactful. And it's something that falls directly within the mission of Finance Fund. This location here, we believe, is truly beneficial to what we have already done in that we have a 3-story parking garage across the street on Grant. We also have we call it a sliver lot, which if you can keep turning that just a little bit more, actually. Yeah, no, sorry, you were going the right way. Just if you can go down Grant slightly. There is a little sliver parking lot, that has like 18 double park spaces as well, next to the Abigail building. Sorry, the other corner there, right there. Yeah, that right there. Sorry. So between the parking garage, the 18 parking spaces that are there, and the surface parking we'd be providing as part of the 7-story structure, this project would be parked very well. It has good traffic flow, and we'd be able to share some amenities between the Vera on Broad project and what we're calling the Artem and Gay. So that's the initial concept. Open for questions, conversations about the cladding, all of that. I mean, we're very much in the conceptual phase. Obviously, to some degree, for us, the funding sources will dictate ultimately what we can do and what we can afford. There's very prescriptive square foot requirements for efficiencies, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, the amount of those in a project. So talking about a rounded corner, it does become very challenging because we are beholden to certain square foot requirements from OFA. And so those are the kind of conversations and considerations we'll have to go through. At this point, we just would love to hear your initial thoughts, and then if and when we are funded or we figure out what that capital stack will look like, we'll come back with more details at that point.
Driveway go?
Yeah, so there's a curb cut on Grant that basically, yeah, between the lot right there and the grayish building on the corner, and it runs to that parking structure there. There's a little drive aisle with a curb cut on Gay as well. That's for the egress for the parking garage itself. It's on the other side of that.
That's where the private drive ends up going though, to this parking garage entrance, which is also serviced by this curb cut.
Right,
For
right.
in and out.
Yeah.
And this is the.
So that's
So the people that own the parking garage own the private drive? Is that it?
That's correct.
And that's your existing curb cut?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oops,
Yep.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Well, actually, so the curb cut is actually fairly substantial. It's almost the whole frontage of the property because you can see the ingress right there at the corner, and then the egress is further down.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually decreasing the size of the curb cut by 30 feet or so. Yeah,
Well, hang on just a second, right there. Is this part of what you're talking about, that lane along there, along
the
right?
lane along the existing parking garage there is northbound only, and we have an Alta on the property, and I should have refreshed myself on it, but there's a convoluted easement that kind of weaves its way from the entrance on the other side of the black building that we were looking at earlier. It's a commercial building. It also extends kind of through the parking garage to the other side, and then comes out here. And
So that is not an easement to your benefit.
it's not an easement to our benefit. It's for that parking garage, and as you can
Is that
see, it's
the state teachers or?
Mhm, that's right.
Garage?
Yep.
Pension fund. So your proposal shows kind of existing with what you've got, with what, let's say you own. It shows the curb cut there on Grand Avenue, using in effect at least part of the existing curb cut.
Yeah.
So this garage would be for residents, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is there any
Exclusive.
way that its entrance could be off that private drive? You made a deal with that? And not have to have the traffic on Grant?
the difficulty with that is
Looks like
the number of owners that are involved in that easement. And we would have to ingress about a half a block south on the other side of the commercial building to the south of our parcel, and then go north to get to our corner. It's just it's a little bit too much to ask to go around and through several different parcels and an easement. I feel, especially when there's an existing curb cut that's under use. I know that there's a part of the guidelines is to reduce curb cuts. Unfortunately, in this situation with the ground that we have and the availability of internal public right of ways, this parcel is pretty landlocked.
What do you see the main entry of the building? Is that off of Grant? Do you see the front of the building really Grant?
Yeah, we're kind of utilizing the corner. So it has kind of a covered entry right at the bottom corner there that has an access opening to both Grant and Gay. I imagine that the primary frontage of the building will be Gay. However, we've chosen to address it on Gay. I think the fenestration on the first floor of that building will reflect the residential use. Patio there,
things like that. So I feel like this will be a building that's really kind of founded on Gay Street with its short end on Grant.
To tell you the truth, I actually like it. I don't like the rounding corners don't do much for me. I much prefer it, I think, with the square corners.
Just to be devil's advocate, I like it a lot.
Is that, now that's perfectly clear then. We'd like you guys to know, to leave here knowing that we already come in for conceptual.
They give us alternative. I think a building on that site is awesome. I mean, it's been a parking lot forever.
Right.
I think with an apartment, I mean, you're parking, I mean, there aren't that many spaces. They're not, I'm not particularly troubled by that curb cut. Now, again, if you had 500 car parking garage.
Yeah, it would be a different
all
scenario.
day long.
Yeah.
That's to me entirely different.
Because what's the number, 29?
Yeah, there's 29 spaces, and
Even if they leave in the morning and come back and they're in and out twice, I mean, any given,
Right.
You guys thinking about any kind of like amenity deck on the roof or anything for outdoor space?
not really. We're kind of at the limit of the occupiable height of the building. Occupying the 7th floor is gonna give us trouble with the high-rise code. Right now, we're kind of just under that, pushing the limits of the construction type. So no, we have talked about trying to find a location on an upper floor. But because of the rigidity of the limits of the square footage requirements of the Ohio Housing Finance Agency and just the number of dwelling units we need to try to get in this building to make the project work. We just didn't have an extra space to chunk out for an upper floor amenity deck.
Talk to us for a minute then too about materials.
Materials, I think they're going to be very similar to other, non-masonry clad buildings that you've seen in the downtown area. We'll, as we are lower in the building, we'll certainly be paying attention to materials that are going to be more durable, less susceptible to traffic impacts and things like that. As we go up on the building, we'll probably start to use more siding products and rain screen type products. Did that answer your question?
Or is there going to be any brick on the building, for example?
I don't know for sure if it's going to be brick. I certainly imagine a masonry type material on the 1st and 2nd floor. The rhythm of the building I think is kind of defined with the horizontal line work that I'm showing here. To stratify the kind of the proportions of the building. Really, this was an effort in locating the dwelling units, locating windows in the portions of the dwelling units that need windows for natural ventilation, for daylight, obviously, to meet the requirements of OFA that requires a window in every bedroom. So it's like, this isn't a building where we can change the shape of a dwelling unit and get bury a bedroom in the back and things like that. Every bedroom has to have a window. So it was really an exercise in, okay, here's the units, here's the fenestration we need, and then how is it going to look after that? Because those things are pretty well set. the way they are.
I had a question about the fenestration. So I don't know how you feel about it, but when I look at like the south elevation in the north, they're pretty massive.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if on some of those windows, if you thought of making them, let's say, larger, like, you have two windows that are close together, maybe making that one large window, maybe in the living room area, and establishing pattern, maybe on those more extensive, on those longer facades. I don't know if you'd like that, and if that would make it visually interesting on those facades and also be interesting on the interior.
I mean, there's a lot to play around with the design of the building at this point. And I think we're not quite to the point where we know how much time to spend on that because the funding hasn't materialized yet. I think once we get to a point where we know how the building is going to be funded, we'll certainly invest the time and resources into really considering how the fenestration works together and how it's going to be designed and the style of the building.
I think with all the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say also, I'm wondering on the, I think the south and the west elevation, it looks like you have, like, I don't know if it's it's some type of a masonry wall on the ground floor, and that would be, right behind that is the parking. So is this, with an alley, is this where that alley is?
Yeah, so on the west elevation, that would be the facing the alley and the parking garage, yeah, right there. And then the south elevation faces that other parking lot.
So how far are you off the property lines on the west and the south?
On the first floor, I think we are a lot line garage.
And so the building sets back then,
Yes,
because you can't have windows on the property
correct.
lines.
Yeah, the parking garage level were, nearly lot line, enough to construct it, enough to get a footing in, but the upper levels we step back.
I don't take this the wrong way. I don't mean to be critical, but I think between materials and windows, they kind of got to be right. This thing could almost come across as looking kind of cheap, and I don't mean that. I just think you want to avoid that, if you kind of know what I mean. And I think
We do.
that'd be something because I agree, I like the location, I like the idea. But I think it's gotta be carefully done here. And, you don't want to do brick, okay, but it has to be well done, or you can cross a line out there.
Well, and that's a point well taken. I mean, this is going to be the affordable housing project on a block where there's two other market rate projects, so we don't want this one to stand out as unique in that regard.
That way, yeah. Like the horizontal lines, particularly setting off the attic story, maybe the windows up there are a little different as well.
Yeah, on the north elevation, I was starting to work on that a little bit where on the lower levels, they're spread apart, but then on the upper level, they come together, kind of a traditional way of grouping the windows as you get higher in a building. But again, the amount of time that we put into the design of this was fairly limited. The number of thumbnails, I mentioned that they were produced by generative design. I'll let you read the tea leaves of what that means, but so this is kind of what I picked out of the batch, and I think the most important thing was to kind of get your feedback about the footprint of the building, the use of the building, and then the access to the parking lot. And I think we've gotten some good feedback about that. We talked about the number of spaces within it. And it's not creating anyone giving anyone too much heartburn.
And then oh, I see what your two vertical columns are for the stairwells there. You just, that kind of doesn't, those seem very kind of plain, and you've overlaid it on a building that seems to have some activity going. So I think you have, how you manage those.
There was something about those locations that maybe I wanted to use those locations to accent a little bit more of a modernistic approach. In my mind, is that a colorful element? Is that a completely different material than the other portions of the building? Something like that. Obviously I could figure out how to fenestrate it just like the rest of the building, but at this point in time, I left them in more of like an episode than trying to make it disappear.
Good. Any other comments or questions?
Where did the
Thoughts?
the name come from? The project name, and does that have any significant meaning?
Yeah, great question. So it's next to CCAD. So we're just a little bit of a play on, this being an arts district. Vera means truth. So that was, when we were trying to truly be a affordable project, that was the mentality of that. So that, we were trying to kind of play off the Vera brand to some degree, and then also being in that Discovery Arts District area. So that's what we are focused on.
I think you have a lot of wonderful elements here, and I like the massing, and I like the concept, and I like the way you're making that, you're creating this double story on the ground to, on the ground floor to kind of ground it. And then, you have the horizontal elements above. I think there's a lot of really interesting ideas here that you can, that you can work on and develop.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
I think, thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hope things move along.
Me too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to tend to? No.
No, the last item is just motion
Sure.
to
Yeah.
excuse me?
Staff approvals?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But moving to move those into the wrong record.
Okay. Has everybody,
So
seen it? Okay, we have a motion. Is there? Second. Thank you. Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those have been approved. Any other questions for anybody? I just had a quick question. I came into the parking garage and they said, go to the second floor. And of course, we're trained to do that.
Yes.
So we know, I think I got the last parking space. Is there
busy.
something going? I just want to make sure that if we come in, we can park
Yeah,
there.
nothing's going on to my knowledge.
Well, it was amazing. Did you have the same thing?
No, not me. I walk here.
I have a secret parking space that no one knows about, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I'm glad. Okay, I wouldn't share. You better not share. Good. Okay,
You landed, I don't know where this is about it.
what's this?
Yeah, it's in the seventh floor, so.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, there you go. Okay, any other questions or anything for you? Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Paul, good job.
Good meeting. Sure.
Just maybe quickly.
Yeah, my father or.
I am the commission.